Okay, so good morning, everyone. We'll begin with the reflections on universal well-being. May I abide in well-being, in freedom from affliction, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may I maintain well-being in myself. May everyone abide in well-being, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may they maintain well-being in themselves. May all beings be released from all suffering, and may they not be parted from the good fortune they have attained. When they act upon intention, all beings are the owners of their action and inherit its results. Their future is born from such action, companion to such action, and results will be their home. All actions with intention, be they skillful or harmful, of such acts they will be the heirs. So, good morning, everyone. Today, I wanted to share something from our 3-month retreat. I think over this last few months, we've heard many stories at River Vihara, at Snow Mountain Monastery, from here in Berkeley. And I thought today we're sharing a piece of it that we haven't shared so much, which is sometimes the difficulties that happen in living together, working together. That you kind of say the frictions that arise. And so yesterday, Jing-Wei Shi and myself, we had a class with all the retreat participants. We wanted to review what we learned the last 3 months. And one of the major themes was on communication. How do we communicate with kindness and wisdom? And we could make it very, very like a lecture, but we thought, well, how about we apply it to something that's happened? So I asked Jing-Wei Shi, was there any kind of conflict or something that happened recently? He thought about, yeah, I have something. I said, okay, well, so what happened? So he shared that when they went to River Vihara as a group, they really wanted to contribute, to really help out in the work there, because we're painting and we're fixing things up. And so they were painting a section of the house, and so they were working really hard. And because they also need the paint to dry, they had the heater on to help the paint dry faster. So they're all sweating and it's really hot. At one point, they were painting, the wall and the door, and the person who's helping lead the work comes in, discovers that they've actually used the wrong paint. They mixed up the paint for the door with the paint for the wall. And so he looked at them and said, everything you did is wrong. This is a wasted 1 day of work, $100 down the drain. Something like that. And the guy's working really hard, and of course it's a kind of a moment like, oh. And I won't go into all the details, but I think in our lives there are definitely moments like that, right? When we work really hard, we try really hard, and then we realize somehow what we did just wasn't right. It didn't help. And all the emotions arise. And sometimes this can actually lead to real conflict in our relationships or in ourselves. We can start scolding ourselves, saying, how come I be so stupid? I just wasted material, I wasted days of work, I was really trying to help. Or we can attack the other person. How come that person didn't tell me how to do this? How can they talk to me like this? I'm working really hard, don't they appreciate me? Or we just can go into withdrawal and denial, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm working really hard, I just give it up, right? We have all these different ways that we can maneuver inside to avoid the experience. But with what we were trying to learn in this last 3 months and continuing on, that we think is really important for this training of the heart and mind and body. So can we meet the experience directly with courage, compassion, and clarity? And so we went over this as a group. So first, can we empathize with the person who's leading the work? What are their feelings? What are their needs? What's their request? And that's the typical NVC, nonviolent communication pattern. There's 4 parts, actually. Observations, feelings, needs, and requests. So observation is, can you just observe what happened without judgment, without blame? So what's that look like? Right? So okay, we're painting. Right? We use the paint for the door, also for the wall. Okay, it's concrete, right? There's no judgment there, like, I'm just very stupid and I got the wrong paint. Or I'm just very careless and I got the wrong paint. You can't observe carelessness. You can say, the paint for the wall, paint for the door was used for the wall. This person came and said, you did everything wrong. Okay? You can't say something like, that person's really mean or insensitive. That would be inappropriate. It's just, that person said, you did everything wrong. Everything you did is wrong. Okay. So these are kind of the facts on the table. And then feelings. So we started with the person who was leading the work, just to kind of use a little bit this methodology. Sometimes you start with yourself, because if we aren't kind of grounded in our own experience, fully accepting what's arising, it's hard to empathize with another person. But let's say, empathize with other person. So we brainstormed as a group. It was quite illuminating because everyone had a different kind of insight into maybe what was arising. And so for instance, we actually took a picture of the board because we wrote it down. So somebody said, maybe he's feeling angry because he needs efficiency, right? He's trying to get this work done under a time schedule, and all of a sudden, the work was put back a day. Another one thought, maybe feeling helpless. He's, clearly, he wants these guys to be able to do the work, but they're unable to, and he's kind of like, what can I do? Feeling helpless, because he values competence. Or maybe he's feeling discouraged. Discouraged because he needs support. We're there to kind of be, part of a team together. Dharma friends working together to get the job done. So he's feeling, hoping for support, but rather than support, it doesn't work out. Or maybe feeling frustrated because he wants cooperation. He wants that we can work together and get something done smoothly. So there's kind of inner frustration. I'm really feeling overwhelmed because he wants to have mutual contribution. We're all working together on this. And it's just like, I'm not feeling just too much stuff I have to do. Too much stuff to pay attention to. And so feelings and needs. So I found this to be a very powerful reflection, because we don't just get stuck on the surface of somebody's words or our own projections and kind of attachments and reactions. We relax and we tune in to see really what's going on. And if we really were to do NVC, you can't say that this is what the person was feeling and needing, because clearly we don't know. We have to ask. We have to ask, are you feeling discouraged because you want support? Or maybe saying it that way during that exchange might be a little bit strange. She can be saying, "Wow, I hear you're really frustrated because you really want us to be able to support you, right?" So it's oftentimes when people hear their own experiences reflected back, the kind of emotions begin to calm down. And then we said, what's the request? In that, everything you did is wrong. What could be the request? Maybe the request that we brainstorm together is maybe it's a request for people to be more careful, to be more mindful. Could you pay a little bit more attention when you're doing the work? Or maybe a request for understanding and learning. Could you ask questions before you do the work so that you know what needs to be done and you're clear about it? Right? So we thought, well, what could have the statement been when the person discovered the situation? It could be something like, "Oh gosh, when I saw that you used the door paint to paint the wall, I'm feeling a bit discouraged because I really, value your support, and I really value getting this job done on time, efficiently, frugally. And I was wondering, would you be willing to just be a little bit more careful in the future? And if you have questions or you're not sure about, come ask me. That'd be really appreciated." Right? That could be one way of communicating. Perhaps the person didn't say that. But what's powerful about this method is, although the person doesn't say that, if we've trained ourselves to be able to listen deeper, when they say something like, "Everything you did is wrong," what we hear is what's going on in their heart. "I'm discouraged. I really value your support. Would you be willing to be a little bit more careful?" And if that's what we hear, then our heart softens and we can actually respond to that place and say something like, "Well, I'm really sorry. I also really value being able to be working as a team, and I'll definitely be more careful in the future and ask questions to see what I can learn, so that we can do this job in an effective manner for the future." Right? And what's really key about this whole way of communicating, look, there is no blame. There's not blaming the other person for being a certain way. There's not blaming ourselves. It's actually staying with the experience and staying with this caring heart. Now, we did this exercise as well for each of the men who were present to say, so what did this person feel? And what did this person need? Actually, for two of the other people. One other person wasn't as involved, so we didn't have time to go over his experience. But it was a very interesting exercise. And I think for all of us maybe here together this morning, is if you wish, perhaps you can think of some recent experience, maybe recent tension or maybe minor conflict, maybe something too extreme, and just try this method. So find a kind of calm time that you can reflect and say, so what happened? Just observations only, no judgments. And then, what was I feeling at the time? And where are those feelings coming from? Where are the deeper needs that are giving rise to those feelings? Then you empathize with the other person. What are they feeling? What are their deeper needs, their deeper values? And after you kind of feel through that, you say, so what can I learn from this here? How can I respond to this situation skillfully in the future? Or maybe even now, how can I respond to this skillfully now? Maybe it requires an apology. Maybe it requires a kind of affirmation of a friendship. So maybe leave that for everyone today. That sometimes you can say when everything we do is wrong can be transformed to everything we do is a test and we can learn from it. Okay. There's like famous passage by Master Hua. Everything's a test to see what you will do. If you miss what's right before your eyes, you'll have to start anew. But everything's a test. Okay, Amitofo.